this is an iHeart podcast.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in America. Because energy tax credits create jobs and put America first.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. President Trump, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits. Learn more at builtforamerica.us. Paid for by Built for America.
Welcome to today's edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show podcast.
Welcome in Tuesday edition. It's a hot one across much of the country as summer has arrived. The heat and the temperature hopefully getting dialed down in the Middle East as Trump, we hope, is going to be able to maintain a ceasefire. It is primary day in New York City, and New York City may be poised to elect the most left-wing crazy man in the history of the city. We will break all of that down for you. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill. Senator Rick Scott of Florida will join us at the bottom of this hour. Trump wants this done by July 4th. Will that occur or not? We will discuss. Trump on his way to a NATO meeting in Europe. It's hard to keep track of all the different UN, one of the things, overseas headed that way. We will discuss that and more, but we begin with the Iran and Israel ceasefire, which appears to be tenuously holding, even though both Iran and Israel violated it in the immediate early parts of the process of the ceasefire being put in place. Trump has gotten very involved. As we told you yesterday, everyone who told you that this was going to lead to World War III, you should question a lot of their decisions and a lot of their suggestions more going forward, because it did not. And even Iran's response yesterday, as we discussed it live with all of you, was telegraphed and had zero impact. And it appears that the Iranian and American relationship, at least on some level, is now back to an even playing field, with the ability of the United States to have wreaked havoc on Iran's long-term plans to be able to gain nuclear weapons at no essential cost to us at all. Not one single life, virtually no casualties to speak of to any degree so far. But the ceasefire is right now underway, and we will get the latest as we progress throughout the course of the program to see whether or not it holds. But I did think this was interesting. This morning, as he was leaving for the NATO event, Trump sounded like a dad who is just really frustrated because his kids won't stop fighting. If you are a parent, maybe you're on summer vacation right now. Maybe you're driving around. The kids want to know when they're going to get there. They're hitting each other in the back. They won't keep their hands to themselves. This was Trump saying they've been fighting so long, they don't even know what they're doing. Cut one.
I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning, because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land, I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I understand it. I'm a dad. I imagine a lot of dads and moms understand it. Buck, President Trump, the dad of the world, just finally seems like he's fed up at the whole process. I thought that was very funny, by the way. That's this morning as he was preparing to embark on his trip for NATO.
The 12-day war seems to be over. And that is a remarkable achievement given the degradation of Iranian military facilities and their nuclear program, most importantly of all. And the warnings of calamity were just that. I mean, they were preposterous. They were overwrought. They were absurd. So that is where we are right now. I understand people are concerned that the ceasefire may not hold, and there could be things that happen that we don't anticipate. The Rumsfeldian unknowns are always something to, well, you can't be prepared for them, but you just got to know that stuff happens. And I understand, Trump having a bit of frustration as well. I also think that people appreciate at this stage that Trump is just a guy who talks like guys talk and says things the way that people in a similar circumstance would, and doesn't put on this show, this facade. He's speaking off the cuff to reporters, right? It's not an address to Congress, to a joint session of Congress. So he's letting it fly a little bit. But I think it's also Trump's telling both sides, hey, I expect, he's like the referee in the middle of the ring with two boxers. And he's like, no low blows. All right. We're ending this thing now. The match is over. Don't go over there and hit the other guy when he's not looking in his corner. So that's the way Trump operates. Very straightforward, very right to the point. Now we see what the next steps will be with the regime in Tehran. I think the plan here, Clay, people have been so concerned about regime change coming from Trump or the Israelis. I think they're going to try to negotiate with a defanged Iran. Say, all right, so you guys tried the whole we're tough guys thing. Iran, you tried that. Didn't work out well for you. What do you want now? How do you want to play the game now? You see, I understand the Taliban's in charge of Afghanistan, and that's very disappointing, especially after 20 years of war. But I do think that the Taliban knows you guys start providing training camps for Al-Qaeda or doing something like that, and we're just going to lay waste to everything.
Yeah.
We're not going to be worried. Geneva Convention, good luck crying about that one. We're just going to go in hard and heavy with everything we got. And I think the Iranians have been sent a very clear message as well. The days of us being worried, or certainly the days of the Israelis being worried about how this plays on CNN are gone. So how do you want things to go from here on out? In the Middle East, strong horse, weak horse, right? People want to go with the strong horse. They respect strength. That's really the only thing that Middle East regimes respect, to be honest with you. And we've seen that all throughout history. And I think that now we know, and Trump wants them all to know, this is the state of play. Now let's move toward a more sane future. And it's, Clay, the trends in the Middle East right now are more positive for a sustained and durable security than they have been in my life, I think. I don't know of another time where there's at least the possibility. That doesn't mean the reality. That doesn't mean the certainty. But the trends are moving all in the right direction right now for the good guys.
No doubt. And I think this has to be seen as a profound win for Trump. Now, the question that I have, you kind of hit at it. What is the ordinary Iranian thinking? What are they seeing? What is their access to the last 12 days of what's taken place? Because they have been sold a profound lie. It was that after 46 years in power, that the Ayatollahs had built a world where there was the ability of Iran to challenge Israel and the United States on some sort of global battlefield. That is not true. It is not remotely true. It took about 1 day for Israel, which has 1/10 the population and a fraction of the overall landmass of Iran, to completely wipe out all Iranian defenses. And even haphazardly firing as they were from Iran, I believe the math was, Buck, 95% of all Iranian missiles that they fired into Israel were shot down. So, yeah. I mean, it is a case that Israel was able to protect itself thanks to both its technology and American technology, because Iranian attacks were not targeted. They were not precise. They were attempting to inflict as many casualties as they could, whereas Israel has the technology to, as you said yesterday, hit a single floor in a single apartment building and not even harm anybody else in any other parts of the apartment building. That's how precise and targeted their hits were. And honestly, Iran is basically defenseless. And I wonder whether the Iranian people are privy to this knowledge and what their thoughts are as they are walking around, waking up in their country in the midst of this ceasefire.
I'll make, I'm not some bright-eyed idealist when it comes to foreign policy, specifically in the Middle East, and having seen with my own eyes over many months in Iraq and many months in Afghanistan during wars how messy things can get. I am not somebody who's sitting here, this is not the early days of the Bush administration when the flowering of democracy is going to just spread across, as we all know, that's not what happened, right? But I would say this. If you want a case for optimism here, the first thing is the guns fall silent, so to speak. The ceasefire holds. Okay, so now you're talking about in Iran that I keep saying defanged, however you want to put it, is less of an external military threat, both not just because of the nuclear program, which has been set back a long time. I know people are now saying, oh, but what if they move some of the enriched uranium? Okay, but also because of the destruction of the mobile ballistic missile launchers and the recognition that Israel knows where everything is, essentially. The Israelis had this whole country mapped out, and that's why I think in the opening hours, this was a true shock and awe campaign, but a targeted one. It wasn't, we're going to level your cities and then you'll wake up the next day and maybe you'll want to play ball with us. It was, we'll take out all of your military infrastructure. That's critical. We'll do it with the precision of a surgeon, and then we can have a talk. And your own people will see that we're not leveling apartment buildings. We're not being reckless about this. We are targeting you militarily because we are better than you militarily. That is what the Israelis showed beyond any doubt. So, okay, that's the first component of this. The next stage is what happens now. What does Trump want? Other than Trump telling the kids, behave yourselves in a very Trump way. No, you shouldn't use salty language in front of the kids like Trump did, but that's, he's talking to adults. But other than getting them to abide by the ceasefire, the case for optimism, I think in Iran, Clay, that's realistic, is that now, remember, they have elections. Now, I know they're not free and fair elections, but, they have some process in place. They have this Masoud Pezeshkian, who is the president. They have something where now they can't, I think, rely on the external threat of Israel to be the constant excuse for why their currency sucks and they can't, the quality of life is so low. Maybe for their own internal stability reasons. So out of pure self-interest and cynicism, the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime will say, all right, we will tone it down for a bit. We will try to get maximum oil flow going, and we'll rebuild. I don't think ideologically they've changed. They still hate the Israelis. I get it. But they might be in a period here of contraction, where they quiet down for a while. I think that's a reasonable case for optimism, for what the Middle East looks like. I do not see a Tahrir Square Egypt 2012 or whenever that was moment here. I don't see that happening, but you never know. They didn't see that happening in Egypt till it did.
I would love if they could turn the internet on, Elon Musk, through Starlink and keep it on for the Iranian people, because I don't think it's just seeing how people in Israel live or how people in the United States live. I think the embarrassment of seeing Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Bahrain and the UAE, which were seen as inferior countries to Iran for most of world history, surpassing Iran in a major way, is a big part of this story. I also think you have to give President Trump a tremendous amount of credit here for leading with commerce. The way that he has connected with the people, the Arab leaders of the Middle East, is primarily through economics and saying, hey, let's invest and build together. They respect Trump's business acumen because they are trying to expand beyond the good gift that they have of oil in their region. But they understand that in these smarter countries with better leadership, oil is not going to create tremendous long-term, multi-generational, hundreds of years of return, because at some point it's going to run out. And they have to have something else that their economy can be based on. And Iran has not been able to take that next step. And I think it's because they've gotten bogged down in the purity tests of the religious clerics. And I wonder how many people who are Iranian are looking around and saying, this is an embarrassment to us that other countries in our region. It's one thing if Israel and the United States are bigger and better, but other Arab countries, Arab Muslim countries, I think it's a humiliation to them.
Well, there's an embarrassment here that the Iranian nation state has suffered, that it is so militarily, putting this in guy terms, if you're so mumuch stronger and bigger than somebody and you get into like a bar fight situation and you slap them instead of punch them, it's kind of worse in a way. It's because if you punch, like, you're so, if you punch them, you may really do a lot of harm. So you might slap if a guy slaps another guy, in some ways it's worse.
It's such a disrespect that he's not even afraid of you being able to punch him back. He's not trying to knock you out. He's just like, yes, you're a little bitch. I'm going to slap you in the face. That's basically
I knew Clay would say it if I. So And that's kind of what the Israeli military has done to the Iranian military here. They're like, we don't even have to, we can just dismantle you, and we don't have to worry about causing a lot of collateral damage or civilian casualties because we are so superior to you militarily.
Yes.
That's the Iranians have a national pride, even though they have problems with their regime. They had a national pride in their now effectively gone nuclear program, and their military capabilities. What we see is that, whoever's got the best missiles, drones, radar, comms, planes, etc., is in a whole different league. And so there's going to be more internal pressure, I think, just more of a sense when inside the country. Why are these clowns in charge again?
Yeah,
they're not,
that's the question.
They're not even, they can't even defend us. They can't even defend their most precious asset, which was the nuclear program. So why are they there? Now, I don't know if that turns into overthrow or not. I think, the one thing that these regimes are very good at is preventing overthrow, because that's what they are obsessed with, right? That's the thing they care about more than anything else. But I do think that it means the Iranians are going to probably play within the sandbox, so to speak, a little more nicely.
No doubt. Look, a lot of you out there right now, you're worried about your families. I'm in this camp. You worry about taking care of them. You want to make sure that you're leaving them the best possible legacy that you can. But are you thinking about what happens when you're gone? Are you helping to forestall your kids, your grandkids, all ending up in arguments with each other over what you might have wanted? You can eliminate that uncertainty, and you need to, because only a third of Americans have a will. Only 1/3. It's expensive. It's complicated if you don't do it. Why not take care of your family after you're gone, just like you're taking care of them while you're here? Go to trustandwill.com. They're experts in creating personalized trust and wills. I have both of these. I would encourage all of you to do it as well. They can help protect your legacy, limit the family squabbles after you are gone at trustandwills.com. Make the choice now for how you want your family to make decisions when you are gone with the things that you live behind. Make that choice. Trustandwill.com. Again, go check it out. Trustandwill.com. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. You can change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 340 academic programs as of September 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. I am up in Michigan. Buck is back from Europe. Yesterday he was, but in the event you missed some of yesterday's show, he is in Miami. So we have got a large swath of the nation, top to bottom, covered. I am near the northern near the northern border, I think it's fair to say, at News Talk 580 WTCM in Traverse City, Michigan. Buck, near the southern border in Miami. It is hot all over the country as summer has arrived in full force. Mayor's race, Democrat primary taking place today in New York City. We will talk some about that, but the number one story remains Iran, Israel, the ceasefire that, as I speak to all of you, remains in effect. And that is to a large extent based on the work that President Trump did yesterday. We played some of the audio of Trump basically as a frustrated dad who's on a summer vacation and doesn't understand why things can't get resolved there. But we will dive into this. And also, I'm going to tie this in because the leading New York City Democrat candidate, Mamdani, who is a crazy left-wing socialist who wants to run grocery stores on behalf of the city of New York who wants to replace police officers with social workers. I mean, this is crazy town. He would say that he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he came to New York City. I think there's a lot of you out there that are saying, man, this is crazy town. This is how Democrats are responding. And speaking of crazy town, I do want to run through some things that many people out there said would happen if we got involved in any way or if Israel bombed Iran. World War III. Buck, as a former CIA analyst, it seems like a little bit of a stretch to argue that Iran, which did not have one public ally, not China, not Russia, not Saudi Arabia, not Iraq, not the UAE, not Qatar, not Syria, no one came out and said, hey, we've got your back, Iran. But a lot of people said this was going to start World War III. A lot of people said there would be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of American troops killed, that your oil prices would skyrocket, that the stock market would collapse. Here is where we are right now. Oil prices. Oil prices have collapsed since all of this has been resolved. They are around $65 a barrel. Oil prices, for those of you who have paid attention over time, you know this. During summer, when everybody, dad and mom, grandma and grandpa get out on the road, oil prices tend to go up in the summer and then come back down in the fall through the winter. That is basically what is happening right now, but they are substantially below where they were 3 summers ago, for those of you out there. As I am talking to you right now, here is another thing that you were told. The economy is going to collapse. Trump has no idea what he's doing with tariffs. Buck, as I am talking to you right now, the S&P 500 largest companies in America, is within 0.5 percentage point of its all-time high. That means that if you had bought in February at the absolute peak of the market, the all-time high that had ever been set in the history of the stock market, and you had done nothing, you had just put those stocks off to the side, and you had paid zero attention to it for the past, whatever it is, 5-6 months, 4 months since that happened, you would actually have lost, on paper, about 0.5%. You would still have 99.5% of your assets, even if you had bought at the all-time high. And by the way, we are close to setting a new all-time high, in which case you would be back in positive territory. Just in the last couple of months, I think this is important. A lot of people out there on the left, on the right, in media in general, have tried to terrify you about stock market prices. They have tried to terrify you about what the price of oil and gas was going to be. They've tried to terrify you about the tariff. They have tried to terrify you about World War III. And as we sit here coming up on the end of June and hopefully what is going to be a really fun July 4th with Trump back in office, I would just point out everything's kind of awesome. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes, true. It's going very, it's the country's doing great right now. And Trump has 6 months in here, pretty much, or close to 6 months into his second term. He's just kicking ass and taking names. And if that wasn't the case, we would say so. We would try to tell the president via this show, tell his staffers via this show what we think could be going in a markedly different direction or a different focus or whatever. They're doing a really good job on a whole range of things. And I know that they haven't gotten everything done yet, but of course not, right? That's a completely unrealistic view of what could happen. And you're never done. As an administration, there's endless things that need to get work and attention. But if you're looking at this with a realistic eye, Trump has had a remarkably successful opening to term 2 here, or, first few months of term 2. The economy's really good. And the catastrophism, I think, has gotten old for a lot of people. That, oh my gosh, it used to be. So here's the thing, Clay. It used to be that the catastrophism was just a constant from the other side as a means of trying to create negativity about Trump, right? Oh my gosh, he's talking to Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un. It's all going to fall apart. No. It used to be the Democrats are worried about World War III when there was no realistic prospect of World War III. Now we've had some Republicans and some Trump supporters, at least ostensibly Trump supporters, who are screaming about World War III. If you have any knowledge of World War I or World War II, I think you're a lot slower to talk about World War III because of what that would actually mean and what that would look like in a modern context. And Trump knows what he's doing. He has a very clear understanding, I think, of a lot of the risks and the challenges that go into the thinking of people that lets them believe that things are about to go completely off the rails. It's going to be a total mess. So the faith that we all should have in Trump at this point, I think is something that should be a constant. And I think that the freak out stuff is just unhelpful. Here's Trump, by the way, who he doesn't want to, this is cut 3. He doesn't want to hear all this stuff now about, but he didn't really take out the nuclear program. Now that's the latest complaint. Play 3.
When I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real ugly.
The degree says that they violated the peace.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people.
Gutless losers is a hell of a line.
I love it.
By talking. And by the way, let's just mention this. Got on the screen right now. Trump is going to be visiting the Royal Palace in the Netherlands soon. Trump is 79 years old, Buck. You just came back from Europe. Now, I know you didn't get to travel on Air Force One. He's probably got a little bit better living quarters than you do.
Yes.
On your airplane flight. But he just landed in Europe after spending the last 12 days trying to mediate the conflict between Israel and Iran. And he's immediately going to go to a late night in Europe event for NATO. And the guy's energy, leave aside his age for a moment. I don't think most 45-year-olds, I don't think most 35-year-olds would be able to keep up with what Trump is doing purely from a day-to-day existence level. The guy's barely sleeping, managing every conflict under the sun.
I think I need naps more than Clay does. More than Trump does, rather. I think I need more naps than Trump. And I'm not the president. And I'm not almost 80.
I don't know how many of you out there are in your 70s, but I think if you are listening to us and you're in your 70s, you are even more impressed than the average 30 or 40 or 50-year-old because, if you're in really good health, you don't know necessarily what you're going to feel like in your 70s. The number of 79-year-olds, first of all, that are alive, isn't the average age of death for men 78?
Clay, settle down.
I don't want to be super dark, but the average 78-year-old man is not even alive. All right, 79-year-old man's not even alive. Much less traveling all over the world, managing the biggest conflicts that are going on anywhere. The guy's energy is off the charts.
He also he called them gutless over at CNN. And I agree with his frustration. It's like, oh my gosh, if you do the airstrikes, World War III is going to happen. Airstrikes happen, no World War III of any kind, not even close. It's pretty much all over. And now it's, well, maybe you didn't get everything with the airstrikes. Like you can't win with these people. I get his frustration. And so Trump this is cut 4. He goes further here and just says, guys, okay, they're not getting nukes. I told you they wouldn't get nukes. It's not happening. And maybe now they actually want to make some money and be a normal country a little bit. Play 4.
Did Iran make any commitments yesterday about uranium enrichment?
About what?
About uranium enrichment.
They're not going to have enrichment and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And they know that. They're going to get on to being a great trading nation. They're very good traders. And they're going to be a great trading nation and they have a lot of oil. They're going to do well. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
Did they promise?
The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
They want to sell their oil, Clay. They have beautiful carpets, a lot of pistachios, trade. Great future for Iran.
I would love at some point in time to visit Iran. I've heard that it is a really beautiful country with great history.
I'm going to need you to wait on that a little bit, buddy, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to have to talk to our JSOC listeners. It's going to get messy. I'm going to have to be back at the 7th floor of Langley. Give it a few years, okay?
I don't think we have a great affiliate in Tehran. So I don't think I'm going to be doing I Heart Tehran anytime soon. But I would like, my point on this, I've never been, I've been to Israel, but I would like to go to Saudi Arabia. I would like to go to the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain. I've heard it's really incredible to see, and I hope to be able to go to those countries. And I think, again, for the Iranian people to think about what the difference is between the last 46 years for Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Bahrain or the UAE. These are countries you used to look down on and basically thumb your nose at because your culture and your history was vastly superior to theirs and you had a higher quality of life. They've all passed you. This has nothing to do with Israel or the United States. Clearly, we live better here than the people of Iran do. But it's one thing to look around in your neighborhood, in your geographic region. It's a little bit, Buck, keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. Everybody talks about this. They've fallen behind.
This is also where I think the military inferiority of the Iranians now is where a lot of this gets exposed because you cannot have an effective military in 2025 without a serious economy. It is not possible. You cannot compete. It doesn't matter, whether you think Allah's on your side. It doesn't matter, what the history is or how brave your soldiers are or whatever. If you do not have a sophisticated economy, your military cannot compete. And the Iranians have been exposed on this one. They've gotten all this, mileage, so to speak, strategically out of supporting these proxies. And all it does is just sow further misery and chaos. They're not actually expanding Iranian influence in a way that helps any Iranian people. So
I actually like your analogy of how Israel basically just walked up and slapped Iran in the face. Right. They didn't even need to throw a punch. True.
Not even closed hand, not even closed fist. They just they slapped Iran across the face and they were like, Iran, behave yourself. That's what the Israelis did. Which, if you're a guy, all the guys listening know it's like, I kind of would rather get punched, actually. I think I'd rather,
least if somebody throws a punch at you, they respect your ability to punch them back.
Do something back to them.
Yes.
Right? You punch somebody because, you think they could punch back. If you know they can't, Israel was like, this is a backhand. It wasn't even, you know what I mean? The back of the hand.
They basically just took the glove. They didn't even use the hand. They smacked him in the face with the glove. It's embarrassing, honestly.
It was tough. It is tough when you think about it that way. All right, we'll take some calls here and dive into this. Speaking about all these countries and some of these non-aligned countries too, when you got representatives from Brazil, China, Russia, India, and yes, Iran gathering for a meeting in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in just a couple of weeks, you should ask why. Why is that happening? Well, it has to do with undermining the dollar. The Rio reset is what people are calling this because these countries are coming together and they're trying to find a way to start trading without doing it in U.S. currency, which is a threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance, which we've had for 80 plus years. This Rio reset, so to speak, takes place on July 6th and 7th. And you want to remember those because the value of the dollar could start to take a hit right around then going forward because these countries are laying the groundwork to replace the dollar. And their central banks have been divesting from the dollar and bonds in favor of gold, which could also affect the value of gold as a commodity. So how can you protect your IRA or 401k from the hit that the dollar could take and the upswing that gold could see? Diversify with gold from the Birch Gold Group. Gold has been a safe haven in times of uncertainty, and that certainly applies when you got a lot of countries trying to move away from the dollar. Birch Gold Group is who I trust. That's who can help you with this. Get a free info kit on a tax-sheltered gold IRA by texting my name, Buck, to 989898. Arm yourself with info to diversify your retirement savings. Text Buck to 989898 and receive your free info kit from Birch Gold.
Hey, Buck, one of my kids called me an unk the other day.
An unk?
Yep, slang evidently for not being hip, being an old dude.
So how do we un-unk you?
Get more people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. At least that's what my kids tell me.
That's simple enough. Just search the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show and hit the subscribe button.
Takes less than 5 seconds to help un-unk me.
Do it for Clay, do it for freedom, and get great content while you're there. The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show YouTube channel. We're joined by our friend, Mr. New York, Mark Simone, on at 10 a.m. Eastern on 710 WOR in NYC. Mark, you know, you and I have known each other a while, and you've been saying to me, just give it time, you'll eventually go back to New York. And I got to say, sometimes I start to miss the food options, and obviously I got family still there. New York still has its allure, no question about it. But this wacky socialist guy, after what the city's been through with de Blasio and then with Mayor Adams, and now can this guy really win? I mean, bring us into what's going on here, because a lot of people are looking at this saying, how could someone who's so far left wing be possibly the next mayor of America's largest city?
Well, you could also be talking about Andrew Cuomo, who governed as the most left-wing kook in the world. But you're talking about this Mamdani, who's an actual socialist, and Cuomo was pretty bad. So this is the first election we have to pray nobody wins this election today. So, this Mamdani apparently did very well in the early voting. They allowed people to vote for 2 weeks before the election day, and that was about 38% of the vote, and he seems to be leading that by 10%. Now, he's turned off some immigrants, believe it or not, Russians, Cuban immigrants, because he's talking about having government-run grocery stores. And they say, we grew up with socialist government grocery stores. They're a nightmare. We don't want to see them again. He's very slick. He's very smooth talking. He's charming. Great campaigner. Problem with Cuomo, he's running a campaign from like 1986, with these old endorsements. Senator Clyburn. He had Bill Clinton making robocalls, to voters in their 30s. Bill Clinton is way in the past. It's like getting a call from Harry Truman. It doesn't mean anything to you. He was bragging about the Daily News, the New York Daily News newspaper endorsed him. Most people don't even know they still print that thing. So, and he's an old, tired-looking guy, Cuomo. So it was pretty easy for Mamdani to get ahead of him. And Mamdani's doing all these shows. He was on Colbert last night, and Cuomo has had to hide from reporters because of the terrible things he's done in the past, the baggage he has to cover up. So he's runs from reporters. He's actually gotten something like 10 speeding tickets in the last few weeks, and 3 or 4 of them were getting away from reporters who were trying to ask him a question. I'm very anti-Mamdani, but Cuomo is no bargain either.
Wait, can you remind everybody why because Cuomo is sort of positioning himself, Mark, as the, I'm not the insane candidate. The other guy is. There's some stuff that Cuomo did at the state level that affected New York, affected all of New York State, that I think people need to be reminded of.
Yeah, he ran for governor as a moderate, but you have the list right here. This is the guy that gave us no bail, no jail. He pushed that like crazy. There's video of him pushing it. He closed prisons, let the prisoners out, and there's video of him bragging about it. He changed the parole board, put a bunch of left-wing kooks on there that let all the prisoners out. They've let out 43 cop killers. He took away the qualified immunity for policemen. That's the protection from being sued. That's why we can't hire any more cops. He's the guy that gave us congestion pricing. He was going to ban ICE from New York State. He threatened to sue them. He called them thugs. He closed Indian Point. That's the nuclear plant. That's 25% of our electricity. He drove everybody's electricity up. He raised taxes. We lost 4 congressional seats under Cuomo because so many people moved out of the state. So if anybody loves him, it's Florida. He really did more for Florida than New York. I didn't even get to killing 10,000 senior citizens in the nursing homes in the dumbest decision ever made by an elected official, sending people with the virus into nursing homes.
Okay, all of that, Mark, and we appreciate you hanging out with us, WOR listeners. This is the first major election since Trump. And so people are looking and saying, okay, what's going to be the outcome here? Trump made a pretty significant improvement in the state of New York. There are lots of people, obviously, that feel like New Jersey could flip. red. I mean, Trump only lost New Jersey by about 5 points. When you look at this decision that the Democrats are making, such that Andrew friggin' Cuomo can look like the reasonable, rational choice for Democrats, what does this tell us about the party as a whole? And also, is this primary happening today? Is this it? Or let's say that Mamdani wins. Could Cuomo run as an independent? Like, what could happen going forward? Is there already scuttlebutt about the larger race this fall and what might happen if Mamdani is the Democrat nominee?
Well, Mamdani has, in the real polls, the internal polls, pulled ahead of Cuomo, which is why Cuomo has registered as an independent. He will be on the ticket as an independent. The current mayor, Eric Adams, is also on the independent ticket. So you're going to have, let's say Mamdani wins, you're going to have Mamdani, Cuomo, Adams, and Curtis Sliwa as the Republican. And there's another guy on some party. So it'll be the first five-way race. Last time that happened was John Lindsay, which was like early 70s. Lindsay ran as an independent and won as an independent. So it is possible to win that way.
Okay, so ranked choice voting also factors in here. And look, I know Alaskans have had major issues with this. There are relatively few places that do ranked choice voting. It's actually complicated. There's talk that it's going to take a week or 10 days to even figure out what the totals are. What can you tell us about how the tallying will work and how ranked choice voting factors in here?
Well, it's a great system. Democrats came up with this system so that at the end of the night tonight, 9 o'clock, when we see who voted for who, it doesn't count anymore. So under ranked choice voting, no matter what the voters decided, they can go into these charts and graphs. You could have this ranked choice explained to you 1,000 times and still not figure it out. It goes many, many rounds. In fact, in this polling, it shows nobody could win the first 7 rounds, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's the way Mamdani will probably win. He's been more clever understanding it and teaming up with other candidates. It's kind of like on Survivor when you form teams and the secret plots.
Because basically they're telling people if you hate Cuomo, just don't rank him in any way and try to get him in the second, third, fourth, or as you just mentioned, 7th round of the ranked choice. Yeah.
So with this ranked choice, Cuomo could lose, and then he would run as an independent. I just don't see Mamdani winning. Curtis Sliwa is the Republican candidate. There is nobody else. And he's nobody better on the subject of crime fighting. And I think how is crime going in New York City? I mean, Mayor Eric Adams, former cop, right? That's what we were all told is supposed to handle this. Doesn't sound like it's been handled. No, and it's been bad for 3 years. But great improvement by Eric Adams this year. He brought in a police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, who I used to work with Jessie. I know Jessie, yeah. Yeah, and you know, she's absolutely incorruptible, very wealthy woman, so she's totally incorruptible. And there were some bad elements in the NYPD. She fired them all, fired a lot of people the first week. It needed to be done. She's put in some of the best people on she's created task forces to go after this stuff. So that's a big improvement. Adams also brought in Randy Mastro, who was the top Giuliani deputy mayor under Rudy Giuliani. So he's in City Hall now running things. So great improvement. And I know Adams is going to start campaigning. He's been very quiet. The current mayor will start campaigning like crazy tomorrow. And who knows, may rise up as an independent, might even beat Cuomo on the independent line. Who do you think is going to win this mayor's race when all's said and done, Mark? Curtis Sliwa. I think in the end, if he gets a fair debate, they really rigged the debates last time. And didn't I love Mark's optimism, Clay. I love optimism via Mark here.
Okay, so Mark, let's say that you are listening to us, and obviously WOR, this is going to factor in a big way, New York City area listeners. If you are nationwide, let's say you're listening in Phoenix or Salt Lake City or Houston, one of these cities that doesn't really have a deep connection to New York City. Why should people tonight be paying attention to what happens in New York City in this race in your mind, not only for what it means to New York City itself, but for the larger American political universe? Well, because the problem is the Democratic Party has gone nuts. And instead of the old Bill Clinton, Democrats, JFK, they've gone completely crazy. And New York City is the barometer where you see how crazy they're going to go. We gave you AOC, all the real crazy. So if they go this crazy here, actually voting in a socialist,
then you know the party's going to go even more nuts, which will kill them in the midterms next year.
Do you agree with Clay? Our buddy here, Clay, likes to make the long-term predictions. He likes to point to the upper deck and then switch sides and bat left-handed. It's never enough of a crazy call for Clay. He thinks Cuomo wins if Cuomo wins the mayor's race, I should say, which I believe you believe he will, right, Clay, still?
I'm going to stick to that prediction, although I may end up being wrong on that.
Cuomo wins the mayor's race. Next stop for him is running as a Democrat nominee. Do you see that, too? Because that would obviously affect everybody listening across the country if that happens.
No, zero chance. One thing about Cuomo, he's a very New York urban guy from Queens. I know you could say that about Trump, but Trump had incredible talent as a campaigner, which Cuomo does not have.
Not to win, but to run as a candidate in 2028. I think this is about setting the foundation for him to be able to argue he has a comeback and throw his hat in the Democrat ring.
Yeah, he was a total outcast here. I forgot to mention he left office in disgrace. There was also, besides the sex scandal, ethics committee ruled against him for profiting off the pandemic. But by running for mayor, he's made himself legitimate again, at least that he's a legitimate candidate. I don't think he could ever get the nomination in 28. I don't think anybody who does would put him on the ticket because they figure they're winning New York. They don't need him for that. They'd have to pick another state. And he's got a lot of baggage.
Okay, Mamdani wins. Let's say that happens. You got people like Buck Sexton with money who are like, New York, I'm done. I'm going to Florida. Ron DeSantis made a joke. He said the best thing that could happen for Palm Beach property values is Mamdani winning the New York City mayoral race. Do you hear, because you've been doing New York City radio for a long time, you know a lot of people, do you hear wealthy New Yorkers say, if Mamdani wins, this is it? They're just fed up and done? Do you buy that will have a major tax revenue, for lack of a better way to describe it, impact? Because the number of rich guys and gals bailing on New York City, they're the ones who are funding to a large extent what they see as a failed city.
Oh, yeah. No, a lot of them have said they'll leave. In fact, one went public. John Katsimatidis owns 100 supermarkets in New York. He said, I will close them. He said, I'll move my business into New Jersey.
Wait, Katz said that he would bounce on New York City if Mamdani wins? I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah. He owns a lot of supermarkets. He said, I'm not going to compete with... I will not compete with the government. And he's not the only one. He just went public and said it, but a lot of others have said it privately. And again, about 3 million people left under Cuomo as governor. In fact, we had a crisis. You couldn't get a moving van for almost a year. There was a shortage of moving vans under Cuomo, and we did lose 4 congressional seats because of it.
Oh, man. Well, let's hope Curtis Sliwa pulls off the greatest, a Trump-level political come-from-behind victory here, the greatest comeback of all time. Otherwise, New York could be in for some rough stuff. 710 WOR, 10 a.m. Eastern. Mark Simone, Mr. New York. Sir, appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Love listening to you guys.
Same. Mark also, have you ever listened to Mark's callers, by the way, represent, when they call into his show, all the different accents of all the different boroughs and counties around New York perfectly. You get the Long Island guys calling in, the Staten Island
guys. When I did my last book, I went into our New York, because he's in the same building, for people who don't know, where we can use in New York City if we happen to be there. I think this is a big, I understand people say, oh, New York City mayor, why do I care? I think if Mamdani wins, it's a holy crap moment for the Democrat
It's an indicator
Party.
For Democrat nationwide. All right. Thanks, Mark. Thank you so much. All right. Rapid Radios makes modern day walkie-talkies. It's such a uniquely created communication device and so easy to use. Remember those kids' toys we used to have, walkie-talkies? Yeah, imagine that, but with the latest tech and all kinds of bells and whistles that you couldn't have dreamed of when you were a kid. With the push of a button, you can talk with this radio nationwide on an LTE network. So you can connect with somebody. It's like a walkie-talkie, but you can talk to somebody anywhere who was also carrying a rapid radio. No setup required. You just pull them out of the box, press a button, and talk. One touch connection. Perfect for busy families. Rapid Radios combines the simplicity of walkie-talkies with today's technology, and it is something to have as part of your preparation plan. Get some Rapid Radios and give them to your family that you want to be able to stay in contact with, friends, neighbors, anybody. Because if things go haywire, you want to be ready with your Rapid Radios. A lot of cell towers can go down. Rapid Radios can be there for you. Go to rapidradios.com, save up to 60% off, get free UPS shipping from Michigan, and use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. Again, the website to go to is rapidradios.com. You'll save up to 60%. Use code RADIO and get an extra 5% off. Go to rapidradios.com.
Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. You can change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 340 academic programs as of September 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
I wanted to reinforce how bad are things for AOC and how not representative are her positions, even on things anti-Trump, which you would think would coalesce much of the Democrat Party. Let me just reinforce for you. They just tried to impeach Trump over the Iran attacks. They lost the vote 344 to 79. That's a pretty good ass kicking, but let me simplify it this way for you, Buck. Democrats voted against impeaching Trump 128 to 79. I mean, that's kind of a sign of how crazy the AOC wing of the party is. They can't even mobilize the Democrat Party to move in conjunction with the positions that she's advocating for.
Think about this for a second. There are Democrats who just voted in the United States Congress to impeach for a third time a sitting president for doing something that, one, is clearly within the scope of what every president in our lifetime has done, and without Democrat and Republican, and two, has been incredibly successful. So this is pure desperation. It shows that where the Democrat Party is right now, they're in such a weak spot that they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. They're trying to figure out some way to seem relevant as opposition to Trump. I always used to wonder this, Clay. Will there be a point at which, never Trumpism and the hysteria and he's Hitler and all that stuff will exhaust itself? It has exhausted itself as a useful political force. They still believe a lot of crazy stuff about Trump. I'm not saying they've changed their minds, but they can't move any middle portion of the electorate at all. Not even 1 or 2% of it with this crazy stuff that they're doing. And so they're just at the, we got to do something phase. But this is firing a BB gun at a freight train.
Also, the whole Hitler thing, Trump has 100% approval in Israel now. Like, I'm not even kidding. It might be 96% approval. There has never been an American president with a higher approval rating in Israel than Trump. Now, Israel didn't exist as a country at the time of World War II. But I'm going to go out on a huge limb with a crazy take for you. Hitler never came close to 100% approval with the Jewish population. Just gonna, maybe outlandish, maybe outrageous. I'm just going to toss this out there. And obviously being facetious about this whole thing. But the idea that Adolf Hitler, a.k.a. Trump, would have 100% approval rating among Israelis would be, in a large extent, a sign that your argument is moronic on a level that few political arguments have ever been in our respective lives. By the way, Trump arriving at the Royal Palace in the Netherlands, stepping out of his beast limo to walk the red carpet for the NATO event as we are speaking to all of you right now. And again, the numbers out there, 128.79. I do think this is significant too, Buck. You mentioned, like, when is the Democrat Party going to end up acknowledging that many of their arguments are broken? Also, who is even the Democrat Party spokesperson? Listen to Jasmine Crockett here talking about how she should be the one making decisions about, God forbid, about how we deal with Iran and Israel. Cut 14.
To understand enough about the Constitution to the extent that I'm the one that's supposed to make the decision or at least get a vote. But Ron is telling me.
Okay, so she's ranting and raving. Worth pointing out, there are also people on the right who have tried to argue Trump did not have the authority to do these strikes in Iran. And I think they're also operating in bad faith because clearly the president of the United States has the ability to act in American interest that he believes requires exigent circumstances, as all American presidents throughout our entire lives have done. Was it 14 bombs that Trump dropped compared to thousands that Obama dropped during his tenure?
Yes. Ordered to be dropped, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
As much
Trump
Trump as the B-2 pilot would be
B-2 bomber.
Cool,
He's a talented guy. I don't think he would have hit the target very well if he had been in charge of the B-2 bombers. But the idea that you're going to try to argue that this was outside of control. But look, listen to this cut 15. This is Jasmine Crockett, who's trying to. Trump put a big post out about AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar and all these people who have emerged as his top attackers, I would say, inside of the Democrat Party. Cut 15.
So long story short, for those of you that are unaware, the mofo that resides in the White House has unilaterally, in my estimation, declared war. We have a constitution that seemingly does not matter to this man.
I mean, the mofo, first of all, you guys can probably, if you're older, maybe you haven't heard that phrase. She's calling him a mother, you know what? I mean, so that's kind of a pretty good attack in terms of the absurdity of it. But it's not only that there's no Democrat opposition, it's that the Democrat opposition, Buck, is not even representative of the Democrat Party now. They can't even marshal 100 votes in the House.
I mean, I would bet that Congresswoman Crockett has never read the U.S. Constitution in its entirety. Ever. I don't mean like she doesn't know it by heart. I mean, I don't think she's ever read it. Neither read nor understood. I think also if you gave her a map of the Middle East with just blanked out countries, and you said, just show me Israel, show me Iran, I think the chance that she could get both of them is almost zero. So I don't think that she should be weighing in heavily on the issue of the constitutional powers of the executive branch in this conflict. But she knows that she raises money and gets media attention by hating Trump, even on an issue, as we've said, there's clear precedent for this kind of action. Bill Clinton blew up an aspirin factory in the Sudan. I think it was because there was testimony about to happen in the Monica case or something. And because he said maybe there were chemical weapons there. Spoiler alert, there were not. We weren't at war with Sudan and nobody was impeaching him over that. So, you look at this stuff, like every president has this. I know he said it's in the imminent, national security interest because we thought there were chemical weapons there, whatever. It's just about opposing Trump. But even on an issue where it's a massive success, right? This is generally, for example, would any Republican have come out after Obama? Look, Obama got bin Laden. It's just a fact. People can, they can be annoyed about that reality, but he did. Obama got bin Laden. Were Republicans coming out like, how dare you violate the sovereignty of Pakistan? The national sovereignty of Pakistan is sacred to us. No, because we're all like, you know what? Thank you for getting bin Laden. And it probably got Obama, at least in some part of it, reelected, right? They're kind of doing that here now. The dance is similar with the Democrats where they're saying, how dare you strike the Iranian nuclear facilities? We have been talking and debating and fretting over this issue, Clay, for 20 plus years. What are we going to do about Iran? What are we going to do about Iran? And Trump's like, you know what? Let's blow up their. I tried to give them a deal. They wouldn't take a deal. Let's take this thing out. And they did it and it's done. And we didn't lose a single American. And now we're supposed to do what? We're going to impeach him? We're going to remove him from office for the thing that we wish somebody else would have done? Makes no
It's
sense.
crazy also because there's nowhere near 67 votes, even if they win the House in 2026 and impeach him. It's not going anywhere.
That's why it's
kabuki
pathetic, right?
theater.
It's a pathetic move.
Yeah,
It's silly.
It's like there is no. I will point out this. Yes, Obama deserves credit for taking out Osama bin Laden, but every time that comes up, I think we should also mention the secondary part of that, which was Joe Biden opposed that raid.
Well, of
that
course.
raid.
I know.
Joe Biden was wrong on every major decision, basically, of his entire career. Obama considered Biden's analysis of taking out
Can I
Osama
tell
bin
you one
Laden and
thing?
said, "You moron, we're going in."
And look, I give Obama full credit for that, and I don't do some throat clearing about, but it was so obvious. No. He did it, and look, he got 4 more years to wreck the country as a result of one good decision, at least in part. But he gets credit for being the commander in chief when he went and got bin Laden, and there's no way around that. That's reality. Okay, another reality though, Clay. We haven't really focused much on the Biden book stuff because, I think a lot of that got taken care of. But I have seen some clips circulating. You know what they're saying now? Not just that Biden had dementia. We knew that, right? We talked about this. We've got it on the ad nauseum. Now what's coming out is Biden was a scumbag his whole life and a huge liar and a manipulator of people and even his own family. And using them as props. Like Democrats are saying this now. Stuff that you and I have been saying. I told people about the drunk driver. What Biden said was a drunk driver killed his wife. Absolutely zero evidence for it whatsoever. A horrible thing to say, but he said it in public. Why? Because it made his case seem even more sympathetic. His wife, it looks like, ran a red light. It was, it is a tragedy, but I mean, she made a mistake and she paid with it with her life. But he lied about it to get more sympathy. And therefore defame somebody who was still alive, I might add, as some kind of a criminal who killed his wife. And he's never apologized but that's just one incident. That's who Biden is. And that was 40 years ago he was doing it.
I, as a dad, I know everybody wants to say, Joe Biden's the greatest dad ever. I looked at his kids that he made get dressed in suits in their hospital beds so that he could get sworn in.
For the grossest photo op imaginable. Yeah.
So that he could get sworn in for the Senate in their hospital room? I mean, as a dad, I can't even imagine doing
so what?
that.
So he could be wrong on everything in foreign policy in the U.S. Senate for 50 years and be a shill for the credit card companies to suck the bank accounts dry of every American who needs to buy groceries? Like, is that was his great contribution? Think about that.
No, I mean, and again, I think that his 4-year tenure, I think this is one thing that Trump got right, which is Jimmy Carter had a more successful presidency.
No, I think I was going to say I think Biden is the worst president in living memory. I think he beats out Jimmy Carter pretty clearly now.
And I think he's going to look even worse in the years ahead as this is one of the great things about history. Eventually the passions fade and you start to look at people rationally and realistically as opposed to thinking about them in the moment of a battle. And I think that Democrat defense of Joe Biden is going to collapse because it really wasn't praising Biden. It was attacking Trump. And now that Trump...
People see it as hollow. They see how hollow it was all along.
And I think that even the COVID thing, the fact that they hit him and all of these other aspects of his presidency that are frankly indefensible, I think are going to become more and more commonplace for discussion. We'll take some of your feedback, some of your responses here as we close up the show on the Tuesday edition. But I want to tell you, Amazon has announced Amazon Prime July 8th through the 11th. That's a Tuesday to a Friday. But you don't have to wait until those dates to get a great device at a great deal on Amazon. Right now, you can get Cardia, the Cardia Mobile 6L, world's first FDA-cleared 6-lead personal EKG. It can detect AFib, a leading cause of stroke, small enough for you to hold in the palm of your hand. Perfect way to manage your heart health. It's small, easy to use, records right to your phone, 6 views of your heart, 6 times the data of any smartwatch at a fraction of the cost. Give yourself peace of mind. Save 10% off on Amazon and on Cardia's website at KARDIA.com. That's Cardia, KARDIA.com. Also, you can go to Amazon and use code 106LCLAY. That's the number 10, as in 10% off, and the Cardia Mobile 6L, my name Clay, for 10% off your Cardia Mobile 6L. Check it out, Cardia.com.
This is an iHeart podcast.